My partner wants me to cut off the friend who introduced us, and I'm really lost. My 27M girlfriend Eva, 25F, of nearly 6 years, and I were talking about the prospect of getting engaged recently when she brought up that it was her expectation that once I proposed I'd also cut contact with Lee, 27F. She is one of my closest friends as well as the person who introduced us. Both names are made up, for what it's worth. Some backstory. Lee and I went to the same middle school and high school, became friends along the way, and had become quite close by graduation. We didn't go to the same college, but we were still in the same area, so we stayed in touch though we saw each other less frequently. A couple years and she told me I absolutely had to meet this girl because she just knew I'd like her. She dragged us both Eva and I were and still are introverts to Lee's social butterfly persona, to a small get-together, introduced us, did some wingmaning, and made herself scarce for the rest of the evening. Spoiler alert, Lee was right and I did like Eva a lot from the get-go. We shared interests, hobbies, a sense of humor, and we clicked from that first evening. Lee made sure to give me every chance to not fumble this by setting up our first date shortly thereafter, and I thankfully, surprisingly, didn't fumble it. Soon enough Eva and I were officially together and in love, moved in together once I got a job, and it felt like a foregone conclusion that eventually we'd get engaged, married and all that stuff. Eva's recent demand came completely out of left field to me, as she had never raised concerns about my friendship with Lee until now, and as far as I could tell counted Lee as a friend of hers as well. Over the course of this relationship the majority of my in-person interactions with Lee also involved Eva, and we each met with her individually outside of that. To be clear, I'm not denying that I am closer to Lee than Eva is, just saying they're not complete strangers without me in the equation. The key issue Eva raised is that I did once have a crush on Lee. Once in this case refers to when I was 15 and had just gotten to know her, and is something Eva and I discussed within our first month of dating, when she asked me if there had ever been anything between us. I didn't hide anything from her, told her there was a one-sided crush at the very beginning, that had been history for a while, and that nothing ever happened. She was fine with it then, and this is the first time she's brought it up since. However, she now says that if she and I are to tie the knot, she does not want someone in our lives who I once had a romantic interest in. She added that she hadn't liked me getting involved in Lee's last serious relationship by telling her to ditch the guy, which I did because she's my friend and the dude was an a-hole. And that while she didn't suspect that anything had happened between me and Lee at this stage, she didn't want to take the chance, especially as Lee now has a pronounced interest in finding someone to settle down with. Eva told me there's no hurry, and that this wasn't an ultimatum, and didn't want to argue about it, but that I should wrap my head around this ahead of proposing to her, which we weren't talking about as a tomorrow thing, but not something too far in the future either. I haven't talked to Lee, or anyone, really, about this yet, because I'm still hoping this is something that can be defused, and bringing her into it now seems counterproductive in that regard, both because it could get her pissed at Eva and Eva pissed at me. I'm really conflicted. On the one hand, Lee is an important friend to me, one who's done a lot for me over the years, brought me out of my shell when I was an awkward teen. On the other hand, by far what I'm most thankful to her for is that she introduced Eva to me, so throwing that away is really a non-starter. But back to the one hand, I don't really feel like Eva is making much of a case here. I'd even be willing to concede that the near-forgotten and short-lived crush could still be a valid argument, but not when it was a non-issue for 6 years. I just don't know how I'm supposed to approach this.